there, fitness friends. Hello, fellow anxiety warriors, and welcome to 40,000 Steps Live. I'm Christopher Heimerman, and let's get this out of the way. I am not a licensed healthcare professional, not a therapist, not a psychiatrist, and none of that stuff. What I am is I'm a guy with about a year and a half of sobriety, and I've got a story to share with you. And I'm building this community where people feel safe to share their stories, to get some help, and to help each other in the process too. And honestly, right now, gang, I need to feel safe. I could use a little bit of help. And I'm not okay, and things have been rough these past few days. My depression and anxiety have been running rampant. And in the past, I would have just plowed through that stuff. I would have pushed it all down and I would have tried to will myself through it. And guess what? I probably don't need to explain it to you. It doesn't work, right? It makes matters worse. So now I know, and it took learning the hard way, that it's okay to not be okay. We've had a year, haven't we? Come on, gang. It's okay to not be okay. It's okay to be struggling. So I'm grateful to have all of you here. I'm grateful to have this safe place. And I'm also grateful to have somebody tonight on tonight who I have a lot in common with. Sasha Wolff is the founder of Still I Run. It's a community for runners who are battling mental illness, a gang that is taking the sledgehammer to the stigma surrounding depression, anxiety. Even a lot of those folks, like me, also are dealing with addiction as well. Those dovetail together so often. So she's joining us tonight. She'll be on in just a few minutes. Hey, it's a great night for a run. Let's lace them up, shall we? It's 40,000 Steps Live. Suck it up. Rub some dirt on it. Power through. Be a man. Grow a pair. Do any of those phrases make you uncomfortable? Well, they should. And if they do, you're in the right place. Look, when I'm running a marathon or if I'm lifting or something like that, I'll tell myself just about anything to push through the finish line. I tell myself to power through it, to dig deep and to push myself. But now when my depression swallows me whole, when I'm down in it, when I hear from friends this year who have relapsed and people whose loved ones are spiraling, there is no universe in which I would use any of those phrases when talking to them. I will say, though, that, when my mental illness has me by the ankles and it's about to pull me underwater, there are two things that I can do that will help, even if it's just a little bit. One of them is talking with somebody. It always helps. And that's what makes this place so awesome. It gives me a place to talk and to share with people. And hopefully you guys take advantage of that too. The other thing is I put on the damn shoes and I go for a walk. And oftentimes I go for a walk. The next thing you know, I'm running. It's a beautiful thing. So our guest tonight, Sasha Wolff, she got herself to put on her shoes one day, a couple of days after she got out of a mental health facility. This was about 10 years ago. Totally changed the game for her. Now she's run countless races. She's done the Boston Marathon. And one of the reasons why she was able to do that is because of her work with Still I Run. It's a nonprofit that she set up about 4 years ago in October of 2016. And it's a very cool place. It's a community for anybody who's affected by mental illness. Maybe it's somebody who's got depression or anxiety like Sasha and I do. Maybe it's someone who lost somebody to illness or addiction. Maybe they just know that mental illness is this beast that is so misunderstood and underestimated, and that the stigma that's surrounding it is keeping millions of people from living their best lives. Still I Run is a place for all of them to come together. They also organize races, and they're establishing chapters all over the country. Unfortunately, COVID-19 had a lot to say about that this year, just as they were growing. But they put together a brand new board. They've got this really cool virtual 5K coming up January 1st, and I'll be talking about that in just a moment. And they've also got this scholarship that I'm a big fan of. And through all the money that they raise, they help people who are interested in running but might not have the means. They set them up and they get them into running. They make it possible. So very cool. So we're going to talk with Sasha about all of that. And here's, I just saw Sasha tweet this. Here's Sasha. She tweeted something about a week ago, and I'm going to show this to you. Friendly reminder that if you don't have your shit together, it's okay. And I love this. I love it. And I absolutely need that because you know what, guys? Expletive warning. I don't have my shit together right now. I miss my friends. I miss my parents. I heard from my kids who want to see their grandparents so bad. And I mean, is there anything that's more cruel and unusual than telling grandma and grandpa that they can't see their grandkids over the holiday? It's rough. I'm exhausted. I'm disheartened by the things that I've seen this year. On a specific and personal note, I'm going to put this out there. I'm trying to piece together what in the hell I'm doing here. Now, I got laid off in March from the coolest job I ever had, and it let me sort of throw myself into advocacy. I was able to finish my memoir. I freelance on the side for a bunch of publications. It lets me work from home while I do all of this stuff, and it's great. But you can put me on camera. You can ask me to write a blog and money, cash. It's that works for me. But like curating a following, developing an audience, like getting this story out there, I have no idea what I'm doing, and I'm figuring it out on the fly. So I get myself into this spiral where I get this self-doubt, and it attacks my self-worth, and then I get down, and I feel like I'm bringing everybody else down, like my wife and our daughters, and I feel like a deadbeat dad, and I feel like she deserves better. All this noise, like all these bees like buzzing around in my head. I know a lot of you unfortunately know what I'm talking about. That we get into this spiral, and it's this vicious circle of feeling worse and beating yourself up and feeling worse yet. Now, like I said, I've figured out 2 ways out of that hole, and the first one is a lot harder, and that's talking about it. I know it's hard, but I'll level with Kayla. I'll talk about it through my guitar or through journaling. I'll plunk around and play some music, or I'll journal. Opening up helps. And I slowly come to realize that it's okay that I don't have my stuff together right now. It's all right that I'm clueless, and I'm going to get it. Just not today, but yeah, I'm going to get it. See, when we try to overpower our mental illness, it's going to beat us down. If we push it down and cover it up with a bandage and never let it see the light of day, it's going to fester and it's going to get worse. But when we acknowledge our mental illness and we acknowledge it and respect it, then it can actually heal. That's the powerful stuff when we actually talk about it. The other solution that I found, of course, is running. And Sasha and I are going to talk all about the healing power of exercise in a bit. For me, exercise is the very best medicine. And when I get down, I try to do little things. Like I know it can be so hard to just get out of bed. Totally get it. The other day though, and my daughter Elise, she wanted to paint my nails. And you know what? That was easy for me. I sat in the bathroom and I let the girl paint my nails. And I don't know, maybe you've noticed it already, but check these bad boys out. And if you're listening to this on the podcast, I'm going to go ahead and share some visuals of the lovely job that my daughter did for me. We went bold. We went very bold with the color. You got to have your accent nail, right? I did that and I felt so much better. And it was easy, but I totally get it that it's hard to just like get yourself out of bed and do that sometimes. The bottom line is, during this messed up time, I'm sorry for what you guys are going through. I'm sorry that you're hurt. I'm sorry for all the things you haven't been able to do. I feel for you, and I'm here for you. If you wanted a place to vent, man, hey, you found it. It's right here. If you've got any questions about mental illness or substance abuse, addiction, recovery, things I'm pretty well versed in, talk about it in the comments below. Make sure you indicate if you want to remain anonymous, because in a minute here, we're going to answer some questions live in the I Hear You segment. Or you can send your questions, your anniversaries, anything you got to talk about. You can send it to 40,000steps@gmail.com. I've got that website or the email address going along the bottom of the screen. Anytime you got anything you want to talk about, send it there. So I'm going to buy you a little bit of time in case you want to send us something, and I'm going to talk about that 5K. So it is the Still I Run Breaking Stigma in Stride virtual 5K. It's January 1st, costs you $25. And let me show you what you get, because surprise, Sasha, my stuff came yesterday. I've got this slick buff. Check this thing out. It's got that nice lavender tone to it. It's very cool. And it's got all these awesome messages in it. You are worth it. You are a warrior. Very cool. And look, guys, the job I got laid off for, I was selling custom medals for a living. This medal is legit. And you know why this is, we signed up for the races, right? Is for this bad boy. It is cool. It's good stuff. And the other thing that they give you is a sticker pack, which is super cool. I'm going to use those if I can keep them out of my kids' hands. And you also get entered into a raffle. Ultra Running is a sponsor of the event, so they're going to be giving away a pack of shoes, water bottle, a sling backpack, all sorts of cool stuff. And the registration fees for that thing, they fund the scholarship that I mentioned. What they do is they have applicants. You can go to stillirun.community.com and you can either apply for this, or there's opportunities there to make a contribution for it. But people can apply to become scholarship recipients. And if they're selected, if they don't have the means and they're selected, then they get set up with a pair of shoes, a pair of shorts, a shirt, all that running gear that it is expensive, am I right? They also get a coach, a mentor, a training plan, and they get a free registration into a 5K or 10K of their choice. And that's a big deal because that first race, man, it is unreal. And Sasha knows all about that. She's going to talk about her first race experience when she joins us shortly. So without further ado, we've got a couple of questions to get to in this next segment. It's called I Hear You. I like to call it America's favorite game. Without further ado, let's dive in. This next segment is called I Hear You. Hey guys, welcome back. Maybe you've heard this spiel before. Hopefully you've seen the show before, but if you haven't, the scoring in this game is super simple. I'll lay it out for you. Every time that you send us a question, or if you send something that you want us to talk about on the air, or if you have an anniversary to celebrate, if you're in recovery, you get 40,000 points. Every time somebody sends us something, they get 40,000 points and everybody wins. It's like, it's like Little League. But in the best way possible, because whenever we talk about these things, we chip away at that stigma that's surrounding mental illness and addiction. So I've got a couple of really good ones tonight. I have one here from Derek. Derek says, I suffer from depression. With everyone home all year, it's been tough. I assume he's talking about family. I hate feeling like I'm bringing everyone down. What can I do? Well, we just touched on this one a little bit. And first off, Derek, you are the man. You're absolutely the man for reaching out to us, and I can't thank you enough. What can you do? What you can do is, and this is hard, I'll say it again, it's hard, is you can talk to the people who you feel like you're letting down. You're probably going to be pleasantly surprised at the fact that they care about you and they just want to help. It took me years to really level with Kayla. My wife doesn't battle mental illness, no depression, no anxiety, anything like that. So she's still learning all the time what makes me tick. And that's okay. But she can't learn if I don't talk to her, right? She can't figure out why I might withdraw or why I'm distant if I don't talk about it. So the communication is absolutely huge. And we'll always be coming back to that if we shed light on things and if we're open and honest, it can only help. And then, like I said, just do the little things. If you put on the pair of shoes and you go for a walk, if you sit down and you watch a movie with your kids. I mean, that's one thing I've found out during this pandemic is if I'm burned out, sometimes if I just sit down and watch a movie with my kids, that's all that they want. It's just for me to be there. So I suppose never underestimate just the power of being there. Derek, I hope that helps. And I hope that you hang with us. And I hope we hear from you again. The other one is from JC. JC wants to know, how do I figure out where to go for mental health care? Awesome. We had Jada Butler, my psychiatrist and therapist. She was on for our first episode, and she had the best advice that first thing first, if you have a regular doctor, talk to them. Oftentimes, your regular doctor might be comfortable prescribing medication, but they're not a therapist. They're not a counselor, but they might be able to help with a diagnosis and to get you started on something. However, most often what they're going to do is refer you to a local service or to a local doctor or a center that has mental health services. And they're going to get you set up with somebody who is, that is their job to help you talk through things, and then also somebody who can get you on the right meds. I'm blessed that Jada is one and the same. She's my therapist and she's also a psychiatrist. Oftentimes you end up seeing two different people. But you want to make sure that the person who's prescribing your meds, that they are in fact trained that way, and that they know exactly what they're doing. The other thing is check with your insurance. Make sure that you check with your insurance before all of a sudden you go and you end up with a $400, $500 bill. I don't mean to give you sticker shock, but make sure that you check with your insurance that when you do go to another service, that it is in fact covered. Now, I saw a very long-winded question up here from a very good friend of mine, Alex. And I'm going to level with you guys. This studio has its limitations in terms of how much can go up there. So I missed it, and I'm going to try to pull it up here quick. In terms of that, finding out where to get help, insurance, talk to your regular doctor. They should be able to help. Okay, I've got it here. Okay. Alex says, I know it can be tough to find this silver lining, but lately I've been letting myself daydream a bit about how great normal things are going to feel when we get past COVID. A concert, a festival, etc. Have you been able, Chris, to look ahead to better times, or has getting through today occupied you fully? No, hey, here's the cool thing about, one day at a time for people in recovery, right? But here's the thing, that is absolutely true, that all you can take care of is what you have today. However, I also think that it's perfectly healthy to look down the road a little bit and know that you're working towards something. For me, it makes it a little bit easier to wear my mask all the time if I know that doing that is going to help me get to a concert sooner. And setting aside a little bit of money, what little we can scrape together right now, and sort of earmarking it for a family vacation next year, I am absolutely looking forward to that stuff. Yeah, we've got to take care of today. That's first and foremost. That's paramount. But we got to give our some stuff to circle on the calendar, right? I think that that's perfectly healthy. And I know a lot of people who are just aching to see some live music, and I am included in that. And I think whether you're booking a race for like next fall, or if you're buying tickets to a concert, I think that that's good mental therapy, because you're telling yourself that I have things to look forward to. I see absolutely no downside to that. So thank you, Alex. Thank you, JC, and thank you, Derek, for weighing in on the I Hear You segment. You're all awarded 40,000 points, and all three of you guys get a participative certification. Do we have trophies? We don't have trophies yet. We're working on that. Guys, I'm pumped. It's time to bring in my very special guest, Sasha Wolff, the founder of Still I Run, a community for runners battling mental illness. We're going to talk about running. We're going to talk about mental health, and we're going to play a little game called the Christmas Playlist. So without further ado, it's time to head over to the guest room. Let's go. Folks, I was so excited to be put in touch with Sasha Wolff, the founder of Still I Run, a community of runners who are battling mental illness and taking that sledgehammer to the stigma surrounding mental illness. And Sasha's here to talk about her story, as well as all the exciting things going on with that nonprofit. Sasha, thanks for joining us. How are the Christmas lights tonight?
They were very good, except they were very busy. I underestimated how many people wanted to be there.
Well, it's so crazy that, our options are limited right now. We were in Rockford, Illinois the other night, and the traffic was lined up for miles. But the kids loved it, right?
Oh yeah, they absolutely loved it. My 3-year-old sat on my lap the whole entire time and was like, "Oh, it's Santa!" And she was trying to tell Santa what she wanted for Christmas. So it was adorable.
Oh, that's so cool. I'm so excited that you guys do that. I mean, these are the memories that are going to be so unique that we're making this year. So good for you guys. So I want to talk about Still I Run, and we'll do that in a little bit. But in order to sort of preach, the power of Still I Run, let's talk about your story, your mental health journey, because I think it's going to resonate with people, and I think it's really going to point out just how special this group is that you formed. So I guess take us back. What was it? 17 years or so when you got your first diagnosis, and let's say that the service you got was less than stellar.
It was a little subpar. So it was in 2003 when I went off to college. I'm originally from California, so I moved all the way to Grand Rapids, Michigan to go to college, and was having some difficulty adjusting, which, brand new state, brand new people, brand new everything, parents not around. And so I thought I might be, having some more difficulty than normal. Went to the school nurse, and the school nurse asked me, the bulleted questions and said, "Yep, you have depression. Here is your prescription for Prozac weekly, 90 milligrams. And here's a pamphlet on what you're feeling." And that was honestly it.
Off you go, right?
Yeah. I told maybe like my roommate and then my parents, but I didn't tell anyone else just because I was, I'm the fun, quirky California girl. I'm supposed to be awesome. And the diagnosis of depression was not fitting with that. So I hid that diagnosis for a long time.
Yeah. So at that point, you're diagnosed with depression. And I guess walk us through the years that followed and how things, did the Prozac work a little bit at first?
Oh, absolutely. Yep. It worked just fine. And I like to say that it kept working until my depression outgrew the medication. When you have a mental illness, it's much like any disease that you have for a long period of time. You need to manage it. And I did not do that. I didn't do any follow-ups. I didn't do therapy. I just kept getting refills on my Prozac weekly, and finally got to a place in 2011 where I just could not deal with it anymore. And that's kind of when I had a mental breakdown and everything kind of came to a head.
Well, and that was, you described it to me the other day. That was like in the parking lot of a Best Buy. Thank goodness that a friend was there with you in the car.
Yeah, absolutely. I felt like my chest was constricted. I couldn't breathe. I was having a panic attack. I couldn't stop crying. I didn't want to exist. No suicidal ideation, but just that general feeling of everybody would be better off if I wasn't around kind of deal.
Well, and everybody thinks that you need to come up with some like elaborate plan to commit suicide in order for you to be, you don't need a flag that red.
Yeah, suicidal ideation. It can be, having that all out plan, or it could be like me where I just didn't want to exist. I just didn't want to be there.
Yeah, I was there for a very long time as well. And I remember, being in the hospital and them asking, "Have you ever come up with a plan?" And immediately I start thinking, "Oh, if I never came up with a plan, am I okay?
Right.
Am I overreacting?" So you get some help, and then when you get back, you get back to reality, and that's that's a trip in and of itself. What was that like? Because I assume you didn't just come out and you were a mental illness warrior at that point.
No, I spent I think 5 to 6 days at a mental health hospital, learning just more about disease management, going to therapy, coping mechanisms, talking with other people that were also in the mental health hospital with me. And when I got out, I felt so alone, because in the hospital, I was with a bunch of people who truly understood what I was going through. And then I get out and people are like, "Well, where were you for the last week?" How do you explain that? So I felt really alone and strange and still a little down. The medication was working, the therapy I was going to was working, but it's hard. It feels like there's almost no support group really amongst family and friends.
Yeah, especially if, and that's where there's the whole chicken and the egg thing, because there would be if you could talk about it, but society has told us that we can't talk about it. So yeah, it's so tough for people to break through and take some of those initial steps. But you took some literal steps. You took the dog for a walk, right? I mean, talk about that little thing that really got something going for you.
Yeah, so when I was in the hospital, we learned about a bunch of coping mechanisms, and one was creating for yourself a healthy habit. So I saw my shoes in the corner of my room, and I thought, all right, I guess I'll take the dog for a little walk. I used to run on and off for fun, so maybe I can just get out there, breathe in some fresh air. And I felt so empowered after that first little walk, just because that was hard. It was hard waking up. So being able to put on my shoes, tie my shoelaces, get on all my clothes, and like go outside with the dog, that was a huge thing that I overcame. And I felt better. So then the next day I went a little longer on my walk. And the next day I added a little bit of speed. And I have not stopped running for my mental health since, because I put together that, sense of feeling like a warrior and the increased serotonin from the exercise with, mental health. I was like, this is a great combination. Why didn't I see this before?
Best medicine. It's the best medicine around. And about a year after you got out of the hospital, tell me about your riverbank experience, because this seems like where like the boot, the boot was off the car and you were ready to drive.
Yeah. So one of my friends that I worked with understood that I was going through a hard time. And he knew that I had started running just a little bit. He's like, hey, why don't you join me and my friends, be a part of the Kick Butt running crew. And we're all training for the riverbank run. There's the 5, the 10, or the 25K. And I said, fine, I guess I've never done this running group thing before. I don't know. I'll do the 10K with you guys. And the training just was so much fun. And I kept doing the mileage that the 25K people did. And finally got to a point where I was like, all right, well, I guess I'm signing up for the 25K. And that's what I did. I ran my very first 25K, I think a few years after I ran my first 5K.
Now, folks, I want to put a disclaimer out there that not everybody is an absolute savage competitor like Sasha. You had done a Coach to 5K a few years before that. And I mean, you caught lightning in a bottle here is what happened.
It felt so good crossing that finish line of the 25K. I was like, oh my goodness, I can do hard things.
Now, so you're out there on the course, and are you already sort of envisioning that I want to be part of a running community, and when something that what did that look like to you?
So at the time I was like, oh, I still want to be a part of this running crew. I mean, look at where they got me, all their encouragement, the camaraderie, the community. And I knew that I wanted to still remain in running in that way, but I don't think at that point, like right when I was running, I thought of Still I Run. I think it was still just kind of like a distant little thing in the back of my head. But I knew I was hooked when I was running. Actually, I remember the exact moment. It's like the turnaround portion of the 25K. So you go in one direction for the longest time, and then you turn around, and it's like right when I was crossing the bridge over the river, I remember thinking, I love this running thing.
And now, folks, she's describing, this is in Grand Rapids, Michigan, which brings to mind, I should thank you for staying up late with us tonight, because you guys are like on the west coast of the Eastern time zone, so to speak. So a couple of years later, you're looking for a running community, and it doesn't exist. Tell me about how you came up with Still I Run, and we're talking about what, October of 2016 that you finally launched it?
Yeah, so in 2012 was when I ran the 25K, and I discovered that I really liked the running community thing. And I think it was a couple months after the Riverbank run where I was like, there has to be a community of mental health running warriors out there. I can't be the only one that's running for their mental health. It's so obvious. And I guess it was too obvious that no one ever thought to put together a community or group for running for mental health. I literally Googled everything for 3 years trying to look for some sort of mental health running group and couldn't find anything. So I, in 2016, kind of just did it. I put it out there for the world to see, not thinking anyone would be interested in it at all.
So you launch it then, and you come up with some pretty cool artwork, though. And I want to show a picture here of something that is still around. It's still incredibly popular, and it's such a cool logo that you still have it on you. I'm going to show everybody a picture of the. You have this tattoo, correct?
I don't. I actually have the Still I Run logo on my arm.
Oh, there it is. Yep. That's the one. That's
there you go. Yep.
Okay.
I thought you were talking about the other one.
But no, the one. And we'll have to point people to the website where you've got the arrows crossing and run and the semicolon. I love the use of the semicolon, and I love the name too, and the playing off of that's Maya Angelou, right?
Maya Angelou's poem. Yeah, I absolutely love it. And I actually, the name for Still I Run came out of, okay, so let me go back a little bit. One thing that prevented me from actually launching Still I Run is I needed to come up with a name, but I couldn't come up with one, like just had no idea. And so after doing a 20-mile training run for the Grand Rapids Marathon, I decided to get this tattoo. And the idea behind it is Maya Angelou's poem of overcoming all obstacles. And I changed the I to a semicolon for mental health awareness, and then changed it to Still I Run because that's what I like to do. And as soon as that tattoo went on my arm, I was like, that's the name for the group. That's what I need to name it.
It's so very cool. Now, I want to talk about the 5K and the scholarship. But first, I want to take a moment, folks. We all know that this has been a tough year, right? Well, for the Salvation Army, the funds have been leaner this year. The needs of the communities that it serves have been way greater, of course, because of the pandemic, among other battles that we're fighting. Well, thanks to the generosity of millions who have participated in the Angel Tree program or donated in person or online, the Salvation Army has rescued Christmas for countless families in need. But the drive is not over. The funds raised help the Salvation Army carry out its mission throughout the entire year. So if you haven't yet, drop some money in the red kettle when you see it. Or you don't even have to wait. You can go right now to salvationarmyusa.org and you can donate to the virtual red kettle so you can help them rescue Christmas, not just this year, but next year. I mean, we want to live Christmas every day, right? The money that they're raising now helps the Salvation Army's mission year round. So thank you so much for contributing to that. Now back to Sasha. I mean, this thing exploded, right? Still I Run, but by December you're on TV.
Yeah, I pitched it to the local media station in town, and they thought it was a wonderful idea. So they came over to my house and did a story on it, and that kind of propelled Still I Run. I mean, once you get that first story out on the internet and people start liking it or commenting on it, it kind of spreads virally that way.
So cool. And so you guys, you're building things, and then like last year you guys were launching some running chapters, and you were going to do more this year. But
I know, COVID.
Semicolon, right?
What?
Semicolon, right?
Oh, yes, definitely a semicolon there. We're continuing on. We're just pausing right now.
It's so cool. I'm looking forward to those cropping up everywhere so that everybody has this community to grab onto. So you guys have this 5K coming up January 1st. I don't think you were here just yet, but I got my stuff, and it's awesome.
Yay! I'm so glad you got it already.
I took this thing for a test drive today. It works. And
you like it?
I do. And it, it doubles as the mask. It's perfect. People were shouting out compliments. They loved it so much. Okay. Now I'm exaggerating, but the metal's cool. It's all good stuff. And the money that you guys are raising for that, and people can register at stillirun.community.com.
Mm-hmm.
The funds that you're raising, tell me about all the money that you guys bring in, let's talk about that scholarship, because I think that's one of the coolest things that you guys do is you make running possible for people who might not have the means.
Yeah, it's absolutely my favorite. We launched it January of 2020 this year. And the idea behind it is that, so those of us in the running community, we probably think it's just easy, strap on some shoes, get out and go. But when we first started, like, we didn't know how to start. Maybe we didn't have an accountability partner. Maybe we didn't know what training plan to do. We don't know what shoes to buy or socks or anything like that. So there are several barriers to starting running for mental health, all of that, plus even having the money for a good pair of shoes. So the Starting Line Scholarship is for people who want to overcome those barriers to running for mental health. And we pick recipients on a quarterly basis, and recipients will get a pair of shoes. Ultra Running will be donating all the shoes for 2021, which is absolutely amazing. And then they will also get a moisture wicking shirt, shorts, proper socks, some Still I Run swag like a water bottle and a hat. They get a Still I Run mentor, a Still I Run certified coach, a training plan, and then entry into a 5K or 10K of their choice.
All right. I pressed you on this because there's some really expensive 5Ks and 10Ks out there. You guys don't put a cap on that registration fee, and doesn't that stem from your experience at Riverbank?
Yeah, I really want people's racing experiences to just be, this is going to sound weird, magical like mine was. And that's why we have a mentor, and that's why we have a coach to help you find a good race that's going to have a good experience once races are back in business again. But when I ran the 5K, it was at the Riverbank Run in 2009, I believe. And I just still remember like the feet of thousands of people running together, and just the atmosphere and hearing everyone and people cheering each other on. Like, that's what I want to give to the recipients. I want them to have a really positive experience doing their race.
Shout out to all my homies in Milwaukee. My first was the Storm the Bastille run in downtown Milwaukee when I was in college. And yeah, it was just epic. You know, you have the people lining the streets, and you know, if you're doing a race like that, you've got the tall buildings downtown, and this was at night, so it was like even more epic. So yeah, and it's funny because at the time it was glorious, and then I didn't do it for a while again. But the hook was in there, and the next thing you know, a couple of years after that, I'm running a 5K like every weekend. Well, hey, speaking of 5Ks, the virtual 5K, people have to run it January 1st, no matter what condition they're in after New Year's.
Correct.
But they get some really cool stuff. Apart from the stuff that I've showed everybody, there's the Ultra Running is also giving away a really cool pack. Talk to me about this race, what significance it has, and how excited you are. You're hoping to get 1,000 people, and you're probably already over 500.
We just cracked 500 today. We're at 523, I believe.
Whew, that's awesome. And yeah, like I said, people are getting their stuff on time. They should register now, though, to make sure that they do, right?
Yeah, the sooner you register, the better, because I am literally like every other day taking registrations, packing it up myself. Like, the floor right over here looks like FedEx. I'm packing it all, and then I go to the post office every other day. So with everything backing up right now in the mail, the sooner people register, the better.
Now, I know you've got the Still I Run thing going on. I know you've also got a full-time job on top of that, but you have another full-time job, and that is being a mom, being a partner, and keeping the household on schedule. I'm going to go ahead and show a picture of you along with your husband, Greg, and your kiddos. I mean, that's a Christmas card right there.
It is a Christmas card. That's like, oh man, Quinn looks so tiny.
So how old are your girls now?
So Quinn just turned 1 year old, and Sloan just turned 3 years old.
Okay. And you've called Greg your biggest cheerleader. You know, tell me about.
He is.
Yeah, let's give them a shout out. Talk about your husband and your kids and how much strength they give you.
Yeah, I can't into words like how thankful I am for Greg, because he definitely allows me to take a couple hours every evening or every other evening to come up to this office and do my work for Still I Run while he watches the girls. And he does that when I need to go and get my runs in for my mental health. And I wouldn't be able to do what I do if it weren't for him. And he's also a huge runner too. We're like that super nerdy running family where we put the girls in the stroller. We just did that today, actually. We put the girls in the stroller, we bundled them up, and we went for a 3.5 mile run together. And the girls just absolutely fuel me too. I mean, one of the reasons I want to make Still I Run a national movement, which sounds huge of me to say, but the reason I really want to do that is because if either of the girls or both the girls should inherit a mental illness from me, because it does run in my family, like I just want to help make the world a little better of a place for them.
Absolutely. And, they're already watching. They might be so small right now, but I mean, our girls are 7 and we didn't have to twist their arms too hard to get them to run a turkey trot with us on Thanksgiving. So I'll have to send you some pictures.
Yes.
So, all right, we're getting down to the end here, and we made a pact that this is our last chance. We're gonna play a Christmas playlist. So I put together.
I got something for it. Like, here we go. I got reindeer antlers.
That's perfect. All right, now we're in business. All right. So I'm going to tell you names of Christmas tunes. You are the DJ of the party, and you're going to tell me whether these songs are making the playlist. All right. First one's easy. Santa Claus is coming to town.
Oh, yeah, totally. Making the playlist.
But here's the sub question. Which version?
Oh, the classic, whatever. I don't remember who sings it, but like the classic version my dad brought me up on. Is
that the Bruce Springsteen, you think?
No, isn't it older than that? I'm thinking like 40.
Oh yeah, the original's much older. Okay, gotcha.
Like that's how old I'm talking.
Well, maybe the boss will make an appearance later in the party. Once everybody's settled in. Yeah. All right. Jingle bells.
So are we talking just Jingle Bells or Jingle Bell Rock?
For now, we're talking just Jingle Bells.
I'm gonna have to go the old school version again. I don't know what year that's from, but it's going in and it's old school.
Okay, and then Jingle Bell Rock, does that make the cut too?
Yes, whatever the Home Alone version is from the movie Home Alone.
All right, perfect. And then All I Want for Christmas, and again, name your artist.
Mariah Carey.
Okay, the original.
Yep.
All right. I didn't know this existed. I Want a Hippopotamus for Christmas, apparently, is a thing.
Yes, I love that song. I know that my dad raised me on some really old music, and this is like an old song. I don't remember who sings it, but I totally know the song.
Okay, well, let's stay in the Wayback Machine, and we've got Christmas Don't Be Late by Alvin and the Chipmunks.
Oh, yeah. Is this the one where he sings about he wants a hula hoop?
It is that one, in fact. Yes.
That's definitely on the playlist as well. I like Christmas music.
All right. All right. This one was touchy with Bobby, too. Last Christmas.
Oh, no, I don't like that one for some reason. That's not going on the playlist.
I am so excited to have you on the show tonight. Have I said that yet?
I love it.
All right. With Last Christmas. Blue Christmas, Elvis Presley.
Oh, yes. Only because I like the part in the song where the ladies are like, ooh, ooh. That's terrible, but I love that part of Blue Christmas.
All right. This one is, we're going to slow it down a little bit with the Christmas song, little Nat King Cole.
Oh, for sure. I love Nat King Cole.
All right. Beautiful. We're doing well. Rocking around the Christmas tree.
Yes, definitely in.
Santa Baby.
Oh, for sure. I actually really like the Elf version with Zoe Chanel, and does Will Ferrell sing at all? Yes, he does a little bit.
Oh, that's Baby It's Cold Outside.
Oh, dang it. Yes, you were totally right.
Well, we literally just watched it yesterday, so I have an advantage here. All right, so they're both in then? Because I was going to... Okay, cool. I Saw Mommy Kissing Santa Claus.
So funny, when we were waiting in the very long line to see the Christmas lights, that song played, and I'm like, huh, that's kind of a weird song when you think about it as an adult. So I don't like it anymore.
It's a new perspective. All right.
Yeah.
Out with the I saw mommy kissing Santa Claus. All right. Hey, this last one, boy, I realize I'm kind of ending on a potential downer, but Happy Christmas. The war is over. You know that tune, right? So this is Christmas.
Yes, I love that song. It's actually an awful song, but I love it. Just because the vocals behind it are fantastic.
It's an amazing song, and here's where I'm going with this is when I was a kid, I remember at a very young age, 9 or 10 years old, hearing that song. And this was one of the very first times that I realized that I was a little bit different in the fact that I heard that song and it made me so miserable and it made me feel so very much like the whole "what have you done?" I was like, what did I accomplish this year? And I was like 9. You know what I mean? So I think about, I don't think that you're ever too young to realize that you might be wired a little bit differently from other people.
Yeah, I definitely feel like I had those moments as a child as well, just feeling kind of like an outsider, like I feel everything so large. Do other people feel this way?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I don't like to hear that you had that struggle as well, but solidarity, sister, right? Any songs that we missed, anything that's got to go on the playlist that we didn't talk about.
Yes, and you will either be the coolest person in the world. No, you would be the coolest person in the world if you know what song I'm talking about. It's called Dominic the Christmas Donkey.
Oh, is that hee haw, hee haw?
It is.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Right.
That absolutely goes on the list.
I win. Coolest in the world.
Coolest in the world.
For one night.
That was the only song that was missing, in my opinion.
Excellent. All right, I think we got a good thing there. We're gonna have a good party. Well, hey, folks, make sure that you get to Still I Run Community. Sign up for that 5K. Run it virtually with us on January 1st. Let's get off to a great start to start 2020. I can't wait to see what your board comes up with. You're forming that new board in January. I can't wait to see what you guys do and where this thing goes. And like it means a lot to me what you've done and that safe place and that powerful place that you've given people. So thanks for giving me a place to hang out.
Thank you for having me on the show and being able to chat about Still I Run and everything we're trying to do. I mean, it's great getting the word out about mental health, and what you're doing here is just absolutely incredible as well. So thank you.
Thanks. I can't imagine why we wouldn't have you on in a few months when we can talk about maybe some of the races you guys are planning for next fall and for next year.
That would be amazing.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us, Sasha. It's time to reflect on the show. Ladies and germs, I feel a lot better. I feel a whole lot better because I talked about it. I talked about the fact that I haven't been okay. And I don't know what tomorrow is going to bring. I don't know when I'm going to get a vaccine, whether it's going to be April, May, June, if it's going to be next fall. But I do know that I have a lot of really, really good things going on right now when I'm able to wake up and begin from a place of gratitude. And when things aren't going well, when I talk about it. So I urge you guys to confide in each other, to check in on each other. Right now, it's more crucial than ever before to pick up the phone and give the person who you love a call. Give the person who you know might be going through a rough time a call. Give the person you haven't talked to in 6 months, you have no idea what's going on with them, give them a call. I have to assume you're probably going to have a day off for the holiday. Put it to good use. Let's reconnect with each other. Let's remind each other just how much we care about each other and how much we're rooting for each other. Folks, I hope you have the most wonderful holiday that you've ever had during a pandemic. The most wonderful holiday you've ever had, period, would be awesome. It's going to be unique in its own way, obviously. But we're always going to remember this. There's going to be, we're forming some very unique memories. And frankly, I'm looking forward to looking back on the great things that happened this year. So happy Christmas, happy holidays, have a wonderful new year. Take care of yourself, take care of each other, because always remember this. Even if everything feels like it's falling apart out there, in here, we are coming together. Love you guys. We'll talk to you soon.